I'm Bob Shane.
And I'm Bill Zorn of the Kingston
Trio.
Trio. And you're listening to The Blaze, 1330 a.m.
Hey, everybody.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Who was that?
Yes, indeed. Welcome on to the show, everybody.
Welcome, Folkin' Around.
Folkin' Around, indeed. Welcome to Folkin' Around, everybody. I'm Britt Ruhr, joined alongside by...
Maeve Norton.
And Evan Targioni.
And our special guest, Mr. Bill Zorn, back on The Blaze.
Good day. Good to see you.
All right. Well, this is a really cool show for all of us. I've had Bill on the show on the radio a number of times, but this was the first appearance for Folkin' Around for Mr. Bill Zorn. For those of you out there who might not know who Mr. Bill Zorn is, member of the Kingston Trio, former member of the Limelighters, of the New Christy Minstrels. In fact, the leader of the New Christy Minstrels for a brief period of time, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, it was quite a long period of time.
Quite a long period of time. Okay. All right.
When I left, I was the longest-serving leader for almost 4 years.
Yeah, and
that group.
And now Randy Sparks is back in charge of the group, right?
Randy is back. Yep.
Yeah, and I think Dolan is the only other. Dolan Ellis, who is our state balladeer, is back with the Christies as well, but he's the only other original member back.
There have been others from time to time, and of course we saw Barry McGuire just recently. So there's a few of them around. Art Podell's around. Clarence Treat did work for him a little bit once in a while.
And haven't there been like 200 members of the New Christy Minstrels at various points of time?
A little bit more, actually.
I would imagine, yes.
Yeah, but when you consider that you're talking about a now 50-year period in a group at anywhere from 8 to 10 people.
Exactly.
The attrition rate was pretty high in the 60s and early 70s.
Right. Well, we're going to get talking about a lot of really cool Kingston Trio stuff. We're going to be talking about Bill's solo stuff. We're going to talk about the fact that Bill grew up actually here in Phoenix, so we can talk about the changes in the folk era. And I think that would be a good place to start.
That's a good segue. Thanks, Britt.
Yeah, Maeve, take it away. Yeah, it's almost like I intended it.
Ooh, magical. Great segue. We think it's really cool that you spent a lot of time in Phoenix and really got started with music here. And from Evan and I especially are curious to know like how you've seen the Phoenix music community and seen really change over time and what it was like maybe when you got started and over time.
It has changed. It has changed an awful lot. You know, when I think about it, I was here to watch Arizona's 50th birthday. I was here to watch its 100th birthday. We came here in 61, and there were 3 or 4 places folk singers could work, and there were not very many places that other musicians could work. You know, if you were a professional musician in Phoenix, there were 8 or 10 places that you might be able to play and a few convention gigs here and there, you know? Mm-hmm. So everybody had to leave town. All the guys we grew up in the 60s with all left town, you know, to go and get work. And now they're all retiring back here because there is so much work. I talk to guys that do 200 gigs a year and they don't play the same place twice. There's so much stuff around, you know, if you're adaptable and you really want to work it. But most of us have done all our work on the road. But it was certainly an interesting place in the 60s. It was a much smaller place and a very active little folk community. And it's surprising how many of them stayed active. You know, the Igors and the Joe Bethencourt, rest in peace, only recently.
Oh, Joe Bethencourt passed away?
He was only a year and a bit ago, I believe.
Oh, geez, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, no, sadly. But you know, these were the people, they were doing the folk gigs in the 60s, and they were still doing the folk gigs last year.
Exactly.
So it has survived as a market, and certainly a lot of people came through here and went on. You know, the Christies had quite a lot of formidable time here. It wasn't just Dolan, but the in-group was all kind of part of it, and they were all close to here. And, of course, Bud and Travis we loved when he was around. So it's been a very vibrant folk community, and the roots of it are still there. You know, there's a good core of people involved.
On the note of those roots, are any of the old venues still around, or
only in different forms, I think? And here again, you know, I don't play them anymore. You know, I know there was There were gigs in Scottsdale that morphed into other clubs, and things like that. And we actually ran a club for a while that was on 16th Street and Bethany Home Road. For a while, it was the Shrunken Head, and then it became the WJ Speakeasy when we moved in with the Windjammers in about 67. And we had a riotous time in this little club, I will tell you that. People used to go out, they'd go and they go see the Spiders play somewhere, and they say, we watched they smashed their guitars and blew up their amps, and then everybody left. And then they came over to the Folk Club on 16th Street in Bethany, and they said, wow, you guys are really weird. We had a ton of fun and lines around the block for a brief while there, and then went on the road, basically. And it's been fun. It's been fun ever since, 50 years later, still playing folk music. I've been in a folk band for 50 years.
Yes. And, of course, you spent a good portion of that time over in England where you met your lovely wife, who is just a wonderful person.
Well, what can I say?
Joe, great gal.
Something was calling me. And, I went over there on tour in 76. We did a round-the-world tour in 76 and ended up in England. And my brother had actually been over there before me. He'd been living there since 71. He's been there forever and has British grandchildren.
Yeah.
My brother from Phoenix. So there you go. And we went over there. I went over and said, well, let's see if we can get a hit record. What the heck? We'll try it. And so we got a hit record,
Yeah, there you go.
And that lasts about 9 weeks, and then what are you going to do after that? So, let's go
How do you follow it up?
Let's go back to folk music. So we went back to being in folk bands and played with some of the finest players in the world. Still good friends and wonderful players all over England. And still keep in touch, in fact.
How would you say that English folk differs from American folk?
Well, what can you say? Ours came from them, didn't it? You
Yeah.
know? I used to play some of the Appalachian favorites, like my grandfather's clock. I'd go over there and I'd say, "Here's an Appalachian favorite on the banjo," and I'd be playing it, and there's some Scots guy in the audience. He says, "It's not Appalachian, Jimmy. It's Scottish." So a lot of those.
That was good.
That's a Scottish.
That was really good.
My grandfather's clock is a Scottish song. We ripped it off. So a lot of that music came from there anyway. The best thing for me, when I left here in about 76, it was very much a transition period. We had ridden the folk crest of the wave into disco dungeon, and fewer places to play. So here in Phoenix, for example, you have the opportunity, if you want to work, you can play country music and work all your life, You can play folk music and play those 3 or 4 clubs once or twice a year, maybe. Or you could go to England, where our folk music began. And fortunately, I had the chance to do that and go there. And then I had a hit record as soon as I got there. So I had the money enough to indulge myself and have a folk band and be a record producer and be an actor and a voiceover artist for 20 years. And had a wonderful time and met the love of my life, of course.
Yeah.
So all is well. What can you say?
So
Yeah.
I think I have an important question about folk. The difference between folk and country, because a lot of people they sound the same. What would you say to them? What is the core difference between folk and country?
Well, and it's all in perception. In the early 60s, all of the country artists in the record store were in the folk music section. You'd see Johnny Cash, you'd see Flatt & Scruggs. They're all in the folk music section. And then in about 1963, somebody decided to take country music seriously, and Glenn Campbell was right on top by the time I get to Phoenix. And then all of a sudden, there's a country music section. And now some of the folk artists are sneaking into the country music section. It really is perception. I studied it a bit in England. I went to the Centre for Folk Arts Study, Cecil Sharp House in London, and got out the big book, folk music. Opened it up. What is folk music? Definition of folk music. Folk music is music written by uneducated people. That includes most of
Can we
rock,
just
I
quote
think.
that and put that as our description on our Facebook page?
We're with the punk in there as well, which is it adds to the uneducated.
That's going to be our next dry ID right there.
I like it.
Good thing we're recording this.
Yes. So that's all of my stuff, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's fantastic.
Right. Well, I think we should go to our first little song break here, and then we'll come back for more of this fantastic interview. The first song we're going to be playing here on the break is going to be All of the Hard Days Are Gone by the Kingston Trio. The McCrells did that originally?
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
The McCrells.
Yeah, really good little folk tune. And then we're going to be doing a song off their Live in Reno album, which is available on the KingstonTrioStore.com. And
Good plug.
Yeah, really, it's a solid album, so check these next two songs out, and we'll be back with more.
Awesome. You are listening to Folkin' Around on Blaze Radio KASC 1330 AM. Stay tuned, guys. We got more great stuff coming up.
And warm here, my friends. Ah, the bad times are gone and they won't come again. So raise up your voices and give us a song. All of the hard days are gone. All of the hard days are gone. It's all beer and whiskey and songs from now on. We'll laugh at the darkness, we'll dance until dawn. All of the hard days are gone. When life has been cloudy and gray, we'll take the bad memories and put them away. The sun has come out, we've waited so long. All of the hard days are gone. All of the hard days are gone. It's all beer and whiskey and songs from now on. We'll laugh at the darkness, we'll dance until dawn. All of the hard days are gone. So let's raise our glasses and say, ah, the hard days are gone. They don't mean a thing. If you want to be happy, we'll take you along. All of the hard days are gone. All of the hard days are gone. It's all beer and whiskey and songs from now on. We'll laugh at the darkness, we'll dance until dawn. All of the hard days are gone. All of the hard days are gone. It's all beer and whiskey and songs from now on. We'll laugh at the darkness, we'll dance until dawn. All of the hard days are gone.
Okay, and we are back. Hey,
Well, that's
sorry
all-
for...
Only on playback, though.
Yeah, sorry about that. We are still trying to figure stuff out here.
We could do a live rendition with 4 people instead of a trio. Exactly. You guys like to do that?
The quartet.
All of the hard days are gone. There we go. Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right. So getting back to the interview itself, let's talk about the Kingston Trio because that is the largest part of your career, I would say, or at least a very large part of it. You got into the Kingston Trio in 73, I want to say?
That is very true. Yeah,
Okay,
73,
so can you tell us a little bit about how that actually came about?
Well, from being on the road with the Christies, I'd been on the road about 4 years then, and had had the occasion to meet Bob Shane along the way. And we partied a little bit here and there in New York and got to know each other. And after it was now closing in on 4 years in the Christies, and I couldn't think of anything else to do, but I knew I had to do something else. Everybody else had already left. I had had the opportunity to preside over the longest period of time without any changes in the Christies' history, which was 1.5 years.
Yay.
Not a long time.
Not at all.
But when I joined the group, the average life expectancy was 9 months of a member of the group. So if you saw the group, and you saw the group in 12 months, it was completely different.
Right.
So to see 1.5 years, all the same faces, that's the only time it happened. So I felt good about that and was moving on, and lo and behold, days later, the phone rings. It's Bob Shane. I hear you left the Christies. Yeah, you want to come to work for me and be in the Kingston Trio? I said, yeah, I guess so. He said, I knew you would. Anybody that had been in the new Christie Minstrels would have to want to be in the Kingston Trio.
That's a very true statement.
So off I went, and 3 years of solid work with Roger Gamble and Bob Shane, and had just way too much fun. Even he says it's, he has a picture of us over his desk. He says that was the most fun.
Yeah.
And it was. We had a nonstop 3-year party around the world and the bicentennial, and played like crazy. And after that, I had felt it was time to go to England. So I went and did that with my brother. And lo and behold, what was it? 20 years passed. And I've had folk bands over there and done some producing and had a good time. And was just thinking, if you're ever going to go back to America, you better do it now, because otherwise you're going to be too old. That was 20 years ago.
Right.
And lo and behold, got a call from a friend who knew the Limelighters, and Lou Gottlieb of the Limelighters had just passed away. And sadly, they couldn't find anybody mainly to sing his parts, because Lou was the arranger, and he sung all the notes, the weird notes, the parts that nobody else could sing. And
Lou Gottlieb had a tremendous voice.
Yes, he did. He sung underneath the baritone, he sung underneath Alex, and he sung over Glenn Yarborough, the tenor. So that was the magic of their arrangements, and I was able to do that. So I came back here and went straight on the road, and it's been 20 years of that, pretty much, 7 years. And then Bob Shane passed away. I passed out.
No. Well, what?
He had his heart attack.
Oh, God. Oh, jeez.
Passed out.
You scared me for there for a minute.
Sorry about that. Sorry, Bob. Yeah, nothing personal. Still with us, are you?
No, he's sitting at home listening to this, and he's just
had his heart attack, and again called me. Said, can you fill in for me for a little while till I'm back on my feet? Mm-hmm. And that was 12 years ago. So, Bob is still very much in charge. He still comes out and sings with us. He just makes a big appearance at the fantasy camp and has a great time. But here I am back again, basically. So, add on to the odyssey, the folk odyssey that started here in Phoenix, Arizona 50 years ago, and is leading to who knows where, back in the trio.
I caught myself in responding to something. I was about to say nobody can sing Scotch and Soda like Bob Shane, but you are actually singing Scotch and Soda now with the trio when you're on the road. And I've heard your version of Scotch and Soda nowadays. It's very good. I wouldn't say it's Shane-worthy, but it's still very good. And, hey, there's nothing wrong with the number 2 spot there.
Well, there you go. There is and always will only be one Bob Shane.
That's right.
I told him, I'll sing the song. I'm not going to be you, but I'll sing the song.
Yeah. Well, there is that of course legend that Frank Sinatra near the end of his career was trying to record a lot of stuff in his duets albums, and one of Sinatra's favorite songs was actually Scotch and Soda, and so somebody had asked him why he never recorded Scotch and Soda on the duets albums, and of course he said because Bob Shane sang it too well.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And it is for somebody like him. If you're gonna do a cover song, if you're gonna cover somebody, you either have to do it a whole lot better or you have to do it a whole lot different, basically.
Yes.
And there was no room for him to do that, and he felt that and had the respect for Bob. So So that's it's a cool thing.
Yeah.
And the track of it on Bob's album is The Payback. If anybody's never heard that, where we went into the studio in Vegas and recorded it with most of Sinatra's orchestra.
That's right, and it sounds wonderful, by the way. Yeah, it's just a really cool little recording, and it's really interesting to hear because you don't often hear Bob Shane sing a lounge song, a lounge type song, or really anybody from the trio.
Oh yeah. No, his manager went to all the trouble, got the musicians, got the arranger, booked the studio.
Yeah.
Says, Bob, just come on and just sing it once, will you? Come on, just do it once. If you don't like it, we won't do anything with it. So sure, Bob goes in and sings it once and listens to it back and says, I don't like it.
Yeah.
So
but it ended up on The World Needs Melody, his solo album.
20 years later.
Yeah. Same thing with The Dutchman also ended up on his solo album. And his version of The Dutchman, I mean, that's just an amazing, a really cool little thing to listen to.
Yes, it is.
It's interesting that he puts out stuff every couple of years. Like, what was it, a couple of years ago on Netflix or on iTunes, he had released The Ballad of Lucy Jordan. And that was just such a surprise because, first of all, I'd never heard the song before. And second of all, it is just such a cool song. And his voice just lends such, that extra added oomph to the story.
Yeah. Well, he was the first one to do Honey, Bobby Goldsboro.
Oh, absolutely.
It was written for him.
And he did it way better than Bobby Goldsboro.
Yeah.
Bobby Goldsboro's was way too kind of sappy, in my opinion, whereas Shane's, it sounded like, he was actually telling the story of, his wife dying, and yeah.
Yep. Well, sometimes that's not what they need. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, they need the sappiness. Yeah, I mean, speaking of the Sinatra stuff, what was it? Jim Moran's lecture this last year at Fantasy Camp. He was telling the thing about what was it? The Sinatra one that the trio also did. It was a very good year.
Yeah.
And how Sinatra wanted his version to be sappy, whereas the trio's version again just sounds like a regular, really cool song. Yeah.
And for all of our listeners, I think you guys should quickly go over what the camp
Oh,
is.
yeah.
Fantasy Camp.
Yeah, Kingston Trio Fantasy Camp. Why don't you explain that a little bit?
Well, you know as much as anyone,
Absolutely.
Britt, and next year you are going to be on stage, up front, on camera, our guy. Britt has been helping us for a number of years there, being MC and general dog's body and helping with the merchandising.
Yeah.
It is in the second week of August this year and goes from the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yep.
Those nights at the Scottsdale Plaza Resort, if you're at a loose end. The concerts are open to the public every evening at about 7:30 usually. You can find out more information on the Kingston Trio website.
Exactly.
You can just stroll in and pay
I think it's $20, right?
15 or 20 bucks and watch the concerts where the Kingston Trio plays every night and our campers play every night. Yeah. Everybody gets a chance to be the third member of the Kingston Trio at one point, do a song. We rehearse with them all week during the days, and they have jam sessions pretty much all night, all week long. So if you're a local and you like a bit of folk music, even if you don't want to pay to see the concert, come over to the Scottsdale Plaza Resort about 10:30 at night and walk around and just follow the sound of music, which is in every direction, and you'll find a little jam session somewhere and sit in on it. It's a good time.
But you totally should come to the concerts because the concerts are amazing. And even though the concerts are $20 a day, you can buy the whole festival pass for I think it's like $50 for the whole thing, and that's the good deal to go on.
Sure.
And just a great bang for the buck. And it's literally people from all over the world. We've had people from Scotland and from Zurich, and we've had people out of Australia come to the camp and just sing these amazing songs. And so it's always a really fun.
It's amazing because there's quite a lot of material. I mean, there's over 400 songs recorded by the Kingston Trio,
exactly.
And some of these people have been coming, more than 10 years.
Yeah,
and so they're digging deep to try to find songs that nobody can remember. Which for this group is not so hard to do, When you got that many songs in your repertoire, and you're going to have a working repertoire, maybe 50 or 60 songs, there's a lot left over,
Well, as I was joking on stage, I still don't think anybody's done the Veranda of Million August, but...
Well, there you go. There's a few left. There's a few I can think of.
Exactly, Actually, a couple on Something Else just haven't been done at all.
Sometimes there's a reason to.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
the Veranda of Millium August, there's a reason for that.
Oh, yeah.
Let's put it this way, 99% of trio songs are amazing, and those other 1% are just not the ones that we talk about at the camp.
That's the one.
Yeah. But again, the you were talking about it yourself, going to the hospitality suites or the rooms run by Mike and Mikey Burns and everything, and you just have
and you never know who's going to show up. People do drop in,
Exactly.
We had Josh White Jr. here for several years.
Oh,
he came just to sit and play with everybody.
And that was amazing having Josh there.
Members of other folk groups. We had Scott Carpenter, the astronaut, drop in for once to visit us.
We had one of the members of the Beach Boys show up, right?
Yes,
Al Jardine.
Al Jardine was there and did a little piece with us. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and who was the Billy Mooney showed up one year, I believe, right? From Twilight Zone and Lost in Space.
I'd forgotten that.
Yeah. I actually ran into.
I wasn't there.
Ran into Billy Mooney a couple years ago at Phoenix Comic Con, and I actually had, he was sitting at his little booth and everything. Unfortunately, nobody was in line to get an autograph, but I walked up and said, "I'll ask you a question that you've never gotten from one of these nerds," because everybody else was going to ask him about Lost in Space or the episode of the Twilight Zone he was on. What's your favorite Kingston Trio song? And he just burst out laughing. He thought that was great. Incidentally, it was Frankie and Johnny.
Okay.
At least for the moment, it was Frankie and Johnny.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So we got in some other great stuff. And one other thing I wanted to mention, speaking of the fantasy camp and the hospitality suites, you wailed pretty hard on the banjo for a good portion of the night on Friday night last time. And so you want to talk about playing the banjo, because you don't really do it a whole lot with the trio, and it's something I think you should do a lot more with the trio.
Well, it's my involvement with the fantasy camp started before I was back with the trio. By the second year, and I was in the Limelighters at that point, and I had the time off. They said, why don't you come out to the fantasy camp? So I came out, brought my banjo, and started jamming around. And that was getting to be a kind of my regular yearly thing. I'd get out there and play a little banjo on a few Kingston Trio songs and jam with the guys. Mm-hmm. And then we took over, about 7 years ago. And since then, it's so much work, actually. Do all these songs and work.
I would imagine, yeah.
Working every day, rehearsing with people and doing songs that you don't normally do and have never done together, with strangers.
Right.
So I don't get a whole lot of time to sit back and relax and pick the banjo that much anymore.
You do claw hammer style, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I mix it up. I got to do what needs to be done, basically. But yeah, I'm a claw hammer player and a bluegrass guy as well. Mm-hmm. I started out in a Dixieland band here in town, too.
Really?
Legend City, 50 years ago. My brother was playing sax,
right?
And they had a band that was playing out at Legend City, and I just got my first banjo, and I said, well, let me see if I take the fifth string off, maybe I can just plunk along. I said, yeah, do it. So that was us, the village something, idiots. Squires or something out at Legend City. That's been done. I've done it in an oompa band in England, in fact, with some friends, actors, doing the acting scene. That was good. I acted with Catherine Zeta-Jones in her very first television production when she was 19 years old.
Really? What was that? Are
you impressed? Hey.
What was the production
It's called The Darling Buds of May. It does show up here occasionally. It's a BBC 3-part series about the life in between the wars in the 30s in England, the lovely, lovely period. And everything was lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
And the Darling Buds were 3 girls, the 3 daughters. Each one had a flower name, and Catherine was the hot one.
Okay.
Of course.
Yes. So for that production, did you attempt a British accent, or were you playing an American?
No. This was when I was window dressing. This is when
you were the extra.
You're a body.
Okay.
Yeah, you're extras. And again, because, I found out once you're a musician and you're in the union, you can be in these things.
Mm-hmm.
And where over here, it's a very closed shop. And in England, the BBC does a lot of production work, and a lot of times they need a lot of bodies. So all the musicians I was hanging out with were doing this because they could do it during the day, and still do your day job. I still do your night gigs. So I fell into that, and I actually enjoyed it. Had a wonderful time. I got to wander around babbling phony French and all kinds of things. It's great fun.
Nice. Did you actually have any speaking lines in any of the productions you ended up doing, or did you do a bunch of extra work?
I had a few little cameos here and there, and I was starting to get a little more corporate work where I was, being taken seriously. It takes a while to establish your cred, because if you're a musician and you're dealing with these people who are theatrical, they tend to treat you like you're a musician unless you show them.
Did your background in theater ever surprise them? Because I know you studied theater.
Well, that's right. Yeah, when I finally got a chance to, somebody handed me 3 pages of script and said, "You got to do this," and I put it down and just did it. Oh, you can do that, okay?
Right.
So I was starting to get a little more of that kind of work. When, as fate would have it, I came back here. So.
All right. We're going to try kicking it over back to the music side and see if we can actually get it to work this time. And then we'll be back with more interview with Bill Zorn. All right.
Ooh,
yeah,
cool.
so we're going to try and play Lion in the Winter.
Yep.
Okay.
And I apologize if anything goes wrong.
All right, let's see. Let's give it a shot.
Thanks for listening, guys. We'll be right back.
Perfect.
Sounds clear.
Okay, we got it.
We got it.
Like a lion in the winter, I can hear the summer call. Like a ship out on the ocean made of stone. And sometimes when I get lonely, I can swear I hear you call. Oh, the nights are cold when you don't keep me warm. And when I first saw you, I first loved you. Here's the song that I sang, to the fire in your eyes. But somebody told you that it wouldn't be easy, and you carried that lie for the devil to sing. Some sail rivers deep and muddy, some sail rivers clear and cold, but the river that I'm sailing goes to sea. Sometimes I do grow weary, sometimes I feel old, and sometimes I wonder if you think of me. And when I first saw you, I first loved you. Here's the song that I sang, to the fire in your eyes. But somebody told you that it wouldn't be easy, and you carry that lie for the devil to sing. Like a lion in the winter, I can hear the summer call. Like a ship out on the ocean made of stone. And sometimes when I get lonely, I can swear I hear you call. Oh, the nights are cold when you don't keep me warm. And when I first saw you, I first loved you. Here's the song that I sang, to the fire in your eyes. But somebody told you that it wouldn't be easy, and you carry that lie for the devil to see. Like a lion in the winter, I can hear the summer call. And oh, here come those highways again. And oh, here I go. And oh, here comes I'll find you, my friend, where roses and canyons and night blooming jasmine still grow. And oh, here come those songs once again. And oh, here I go. And oh, here comes that longing again, where roses and canyons and night blooming jasmine still grow. A long time ago, I found you, and so I told you, and oh, here I go. And oh, here come those sidewalks again. And oh, here I go. And oh, here come those long walks, my friend, where roses and canyons and night blooming jasmine still grow. And oh, here come those highways again. And oh, here I go. And oh, here comes I'll find you again, where roses and canyons and night blooming jasmines, roses and canyons and night blooming jasmine still grow.
Hey, all right, we're back on the air.
Hello.
All right, that last song was Jasmine off the Born Off the Right Time album from the Kingston Trio.
Thank you,
and
John. Thank you.
Absolutely. John Stewart, former member of the Kingston Trio, great solo artist as well, wrote that particular song. It was one of the last songs I believe he wrote. It was on his final album.
It was on his last album, man. He was writing right up until the end, but this was one, when we started to work on that album, this was a no contest. Everybody said that we're going to do this song. We're going to do this song.
And I believe John actually said he had written it with the Kingston Trio in mind. And
I think so.
yeah,
Yeah.
and something I can't picture now anybody singing it besides you, because you just did an amazing job on that song.
Well,
the voice just carries on that particular tune. It's just kind of honey sweet.
It's a good song. It's a good song. Do you know the story of the Young Men in a Hurry? Have you ever done that?
Yes, I have. Young Men in a Hurry was the TV pilot that was filmed with the Kingston Trio right here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Huh.
It was pre-Monkees.
When John Stewart was in the group.
Yeah, go ahead and tell the story.
Well, just after he joined, it was 1963, and I was here. I remember it very well because Bob talked about it. It was in March of 1963, and it was so cold one day that there was ice in Phoenix, which doesn't happen too often in March. And that was the day they were filming the swimming pool scene at the apartment. And the poor blonde was like, has goosebumps all over. But they were asked to do the pilot for a TV series in 1963, and John Stewart's in the group then, and Nick, and they came to Phoenix, and they did the pilot. And went on the road. So sure enough, 6 months later, they get the call from Hollywood. It's a goer. We want Young Men in a Hurry to be on, and we want you guys in California next March for 9 months of filming. And at this time, this was the highest paid concert act on the planet. They're working more than 300 nights of the year. And they sat down and said, let's see, 300 times. And how much are we going to get for doing this? Well, you're going to get, union rate and repeats. Well, I don't know about that, So they turned it down, sure enough. And I saw this. I was a young student of drama in Phoenix in 64 and 65. And we would get the Variety newspaper from Hollywood when it came out, all of us drama students, and look, and here's this ad in 64, late 64, and it said, wanted actor, singer, musicians to form quirky group for television project. And the Monkees was born.
Yep.
And of course, Jon Stewart did pretty well out of the Monkees as well, writing Daydream Believer, among others. So he came out ahead on that one anyway, basically.
Exactly. Something I've mentioned to Bob a couple times, just because this is my own personal connection to that show. Okay, so Bob plays a character who is the banker, son of a rancher, growing up in 1960s Phoenix, driving a white Corvette. My dad was a son of a rancher banker growing up in 1960s Phoenix, driving a white Corvette. So I was like, Bob Shane basically played my dad. I'm cool with it. Ted Knight played my grandpa, basically. I'm in that case.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Ted Knight played Bob Shane's dad in that, which was really cool. Very young Ted Knight.
Yeah. The Arizona Historical Society asked us to come for a special presentation of that.
I was there for that. That was
a
awesome.
Couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And one of the guys, I think it was Jackson of Barrett and Jackson, was there, and he said, "Can we have a special showing of this at our place just for the cars?" It's all the 60s cars cruising central in Phoenix, he said.
And we should mention it shows like Westward Ho and all the built. In fact, the hotel where it's supposed to take place is basically set on the same, couple mile stretch that we're on right now. So we're basically sitting on the ruins of the Kingston Trio pilot right now. Hey.
Oh, yeah. Cruising through the open desert on Scottsdale Road and, Shea and things like that.
Yeah, it was a very cool little pilot. I would encourage people to see it, which, by the way, it's also available on KingstonTrioStore.com. Pick it up there.
You can get anything you want.
Exactly. At Alice's Restaurant. But yeah, a lot of really cool stuff. The Kingston Trio really does have a whole lot of roots here in Phoenix, and I think that's just a really cool legacy for Phoenix to have. And
well, it's true that it came around back here too, and it seems right.
Yeah.
Obviously, Shane could live anywhere in the world, and he chooses to live here. So.
I mean, he was born in Hawaii, for goodness sakes. He could be living
starters.
in his homeland of Hawaii, but instead chooses to live in Phoenix.
Dreams.
Sipping pina coladas on the beach.
Lived in San Francisco, lived in Atlanta, and when it came time for retirement, can't beat that Phoenix.
Yeah, exactly.
Get through July and August, that's all.
Yeah.
After that, we have beautiful weather here right now. I mean, this is the time of year where everybody wants to come to Phoenix.
Please, bring money.
Yes, definitely.
We need it.
Yeah. So we got a lot of really, great Kingston Trio stuff going on. You're going to be in Yuma, I want to say, in, what was it, January?
It was in February.
February, right.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
You can dial it up and see. There's a few things coming up. We're going to be in Tucson as well, in fact, at the Fox in February. And we are in Laughlin, in fact, if anybody's brave, in January.
Is the Fox the one where you've done the shows before in Tucson?
The group has done the Fox. I have not done the Fox, I don't think, this time.
Okay.
I know it. We've all been there.
Right.
Sooner or later, you get everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to spend your Valentine's Day if you want. It's on February 14th, the Fox Theater in Tucson, Arizona.
Well done. And it's an afternoon show, I think,
Yep,
too.
2 p.m.
So you could get home in time. Wow.
And, of course, you do those Laughlin shows every year. You're basically, that's like a regular gig for you every year, right?
It has been. That's right. Yeah. I think it's about, 12th year, 13th maybe for me. And the group has been playing there before that. And it's another one of those places you love to play. A few acts like Smothers Brothers always played there and always loved it. And trio, we did that for years and years too. So.
And of course, George lives in Vegas. George Grove of the Kingston Trio, another great member.
It's just a short hop for him.
Exactly, yeah. And this is what, his 38th year now in the Kingston Trio?
No.
37th?
Yeah, keep going, pal.
39? We're getting to 40 here?
Yeah, this is the beginning of his 40th year.
Oh,
he joined
jeez.
39 years ago in December.
Nice.
Actually, he came in a little before that, and we worked with him, but he took over in December.
So he's even
76.
getting in on Bob Shane's record.
Well, he's got 7 more to go.
Right.
We'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's amazing. The last one standing. Bob, God bless you.
Absolutely.
Nobody would have bet on it.
No.
Way too much fun, pal. Way too much.
Yes, definitely. Fun that we would be better suited to talk about that off the air rather than on the air and put Bob Shane's reputation on the record.
Nah.
Yeah, no, he's a great guy. We love Bob Shane, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and one of the, like you were saying, one of the smartest guys for business in the business. I mean, we were talking about him choosing the road gigs over, working with the Young Men in Hurry and everything.
Yeah.
The fact that he actually went to Menlo Business College for a number of years, and
don't forget, he had the chance to be Bobby Goldsboro. He could have been.
Yeah.
But he said, I'd rather be in a group. I'd rather have play some guys I can have some fun with. I don't want to be a star.
But seems like you guys all made the decision because you were also in the theatrical field. You told me about how you had that gig out of freshman year that no one told you you'd get. So
yeah.
Seems like you guys all chose this life, and it chose you as well.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And I think at the end of it, I'm better. I'm better off. At any point in the life of an actor, if you look at the register of the Actors Union, 80% of them are out of work at any one time.
Yeah.
So you got to make it good when you're working, because there's a lot of in between. Now, a musician in between, you can always get your guitar and even go to the street corner and play. And an actor, he's got to have a part, especially if he's got a bit of credibility. So it's a rough thing. So I threw my credibility away and picked up my banjo and went on the road. My bills have been paid ever since.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
Sounds like a song.
Yeah.
Could be.
That's your next song.
Yeah.
Could be.
There you go.
We'll actually be talking about some of the Kingston Trio's next coming songs. The trio's recording a new album, from what I understand, right now.
Well, now, they're in the next room.
Yeah. Well, we've got, last I heard, 5 of the songs were recorded, right?
There has been some recording.
Okay,
There
fantastic.
has been.
Well, we'll talk about that when we come back from our
I'll
next
tell you
break.
everything I know.
I would love to hear everything you know. We got Ryder coming up next.
Yeah,
week.
we got Ryder.
Oh,
and,
great.
Great song, and you do so well in concert, but we're going to hear it right now. They're live recording of Ryder.
and you're listening to Folkin' Around on Blaze Radio, KASC 1330 AM. Stay tuned. We got a lot more coming up for you.
Well, I know you right, gonna miss me when I'm gone.
hard-hearted woman make a good time man feel bad. Takes a hard-hearted woman make a good time man feel bad. 'Cause it makes him remember all of the long, hard road that he's had.
Well, I know you right are gonna miss me when I'm gone. I know you right are gonna miss me when I'm gone. You're gonna miss your daddy rolling in your arms. Well, I know you right are gonna miss me when I'm time we met, I must have been 3. Cartoons and TV, they were all new to me. But right from the start, I knew that you'd be my friend for life, Charlie Brown. All of the kids that I knew in school were just like the ones on your block. And even the puppy that followed me home, sometimes I was sure he could talk. It had to be someone to head up the team, and someone to blame when we lost the game. That's why I knew that we were the same. It was just you and me, Charlie Brown. Goodbye, Charlie Brown. You changed the world with hardly a sound, and it's just not the same without you around. Goodbye, Charlie Brown. Gone by, and my friends are grown, houses and payments, and kids of their own. And the kids all have their friends and their heroes too, but there's no one like you, Charlie Brown. Goodbye, Charlie Brown. You changed the world with hardly a sound, and it's just not the same without you around. Goodbye, Charlie Brown. Goodbye, Charlie
All right, that was Goodbye Charlie Brown off the Bill Zorn Show, Bill's solo album there.
Yahoo!
Yeah, great album, and it's a really nice song on that album.
Well, thank you very much. Every song has a story.
Absolutely.
When I was first starting out in Phoenix as a young banjo player, I knew some of these guys that were in the razzmatazz groups, and they had different things. And one guy had a clear plastic banjo head and lights inside. So when he was getting really going, he would turn it on and it would light up inside, right? And I saw another variation on this. The guy had the lights inside and he had the naked girl inside.
Okay.
So he'd get really going and then he'd turn on the lights, right? And for some reason, I just had this vision in my mind of having not a naked girl inside, but what I wanted was Snoopy playing the banjo, and I wanted it right on the front, right on my banjo head. I just had this picture of Snoopy playing the banjo. And then, several years later, forward in time, I'm with the Christies, and we are playing in Santa Rosa, California, and we are playing at Charles Schultz's Community Theater.
Nice.
A concert with Bob Newhart and the New Christie Minstrels.
Ah.
So we come in and great. And I turn around and there's Charles Schultz in the dressing room. And all I could think of was this dream I'd had several years earlier when I was a kid. I said, once I had this dream of a picture of Snoopy playing the banjo. So you got some paper? He said, yeah, I got a piece of hotel stationery. And he says, I've never drawn a banjo before, would you? And I had my banjo. I stood there and posed. And he drew Snoopy and gave it to me. And so I thought this was just terrific.
Yeah.
Terrific. And I never put it on my banjo. I put it on my wall instead. But when I heard, sadly, that Charles Schultz had passed away, I sat down and spontaneously wrote that song, just in a sitting. And I said, you know what? Everybody's writing this song. It's going to be on the charts in like 3 weeks. So forget it. Mm-hmm. So I just put it aside. And until this came up, I said, I got to do that song. Nobody ever did do it, finally. So I got to do it. So there's my Charlie Brown story.
And I think, didn't the Peanuts movie just open today? Or is it?
It was last week.
My mother went to
Wait, what movie?
The Peanuts movie.
Yeah. The Charlie Brown movie just came out last week.
Yeah. No, I did. And I will tell you that after that, I did on several occasions see greeting cards where the image of Snoopy playing the banjo was used. So I was the first.
Yes. You were the inspiration.
There you go. Should the Bonner stay inspired by Bill Zorn? Here we go.
I would be surprised if there was just one of those Peanut specials from like the late 70s or something where you have Snoopy playing the banjo, and I'm sure that happened at one point.
Watch out for it.
I could have sworn there was like a Snoopy family reunion episode or something where like he and his the Spike the dog and everybody else. We're all playing various instruments. I'm sure there was a banjo in there somewhere.
Well, there should be.
Absolutely.
If he played anything, it would be the banjo. I'm sure of it.
That's right, because Schroeder was the piano player. Yeah. So we were talking a little bit before the break here about the new album. We're still working out a lot of things, from what I understand, on the new album. But 5 songs are recorded.
Yes, there have been several bits put down, and we're just trying to decide where to go with it. Basically, it took almost 40 years for us to come up with a new album, which we did about 3 years ago, of all new songs. And everybody loves it. And now they're saying, we want another one. That one took 40 years. I'm not going to say that we weren't working for 40 years.
Right, yeah.
But it takes a lot of consensus and a lot of, emotion.
I would imagine,
out of a band making an album, basically. Mm-hmm. So it's something we haven't completely come to terms with where we're going with it next. But things have been done. Things have been recorded. And the main project in the past year has, of course, been the PBS
yes,
special.
Indeed. That's what we're going to do next.
Which, after a lot of talking and a lot of effort, has finally been filmed. We did the concert in June in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, right across the street from Capitol Records. the Capitol Records Tower, which was built on money earned from the sale of Kingston Trio albums.
Exactly. It's the building that the Kingston Trio built.
Even they admit it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, indeed. So we were in sight of that and had a wonderful time, a great concert, a lot of good guests came on. I won't spoil it too much with you, but we had everything from the Limelighters to Barry Maguire to Trini Lopez, and others too humorous to mention. And there'll be members of the Eagles, members of the Beach Boys, and a grandiose finale was all done in vivid HD.
Yes.
Would look bigger than human. And
you should voice over your own trailer for it.
Should be good. It's when you thought it was safe to come out of the theater. But it was a good one. It was a good one. And, you know, the Beatles story, of course. Yeah. We know that about the Kingston Trio and the Beatles.
I do, but go ahead and tell them.
Oh, please do.
We're talking about Capitol Records.
Exactly.
And England, as we have been. The Kingston Trio played only once in England in that same year, 1963, when they just finished doing the pilot for their new TV series. And they did 2 concerts. One was a private show for the opening of the London Hilton, and the other was a public concert in Manchester, where they had as their opening act a local band from nearby Liverpool. I think you see where we're going with this. And so the Kingston Trio went back and told their record company, Capitol Records, remember, about this new group from England. Well, in 1964, the very next year, Capitol Records signed the Beatles and dropped the Kingston Trio.
No. Burn.
And what's funny, of course, is that that Decca Records didn't pick up the Beatles, but then after Capitol dropped the Kingston Trio, Decca picked up the Kingston Trio.
Yeah.
A little shuffle.
Exactly. So,
yeah, so that was part and parcel of it. So it was nice to be there in the shadow of Capitol Records to do a little homage.
And of course, one story I always remember is Bob, had known and knew the Beatles or something, and had gotten a magazine where the Beatles are mentioned and the Kingston Trio is mentioned. Got all the Beatles to sign it. He and the rest of the trio signed it and made a good amount of money, from what I understand.
It was volume 1 of Folk Music Today in New York City. Not only was it volume 1, it was the only volume. This magazine opened and folded with one issue, but the cover story was the Kingston Trio versus the Beatles, and it had pictures of both groups on the cover. Shane was in New York when they played Madison Square Garden and hired a limousine and said, "Take me to the stage door. Put some American flags on the front." Went right up to the stage door, walked right into the Beatles, showed them the magazine and said, "What do you think of this, lads?" And they said, "Oh, jolly good, eh?" And they signed it, and he signed it. And yes, that has indeed been a part of his retirement.
Yes.
That's why you do these things. He always bought lots of nice Martin guitars. We love Martin guitars, of course.
Absolutely. Martin guitar is the official guitar of the Kingston Trio, just as big as the official banjo.
Absolutely. And not only did we claim responsibility for building the Capitol Records Tower, we have been credited with building the new Martin factory as well by their head of artist relations, who said, "We want to thank the Kingston Trio. Sales of guitars, which started with Tom Dooley, basically. From the moment Tom Dooley came out, Martin has never been able to keep up with demand for their guitars."
and of course, Martin put out the Kingston Trio Memorial guitars. What it was in the late 90s, early 2000s?
96, I want to say, but around there.
Yeah.
90s, yeah.
And one's for Bob, one's for Nick, one's for John and Dave. And George even has something, right? I want to say.
We've got there's a banjo.
Yeah, he's got his banjo.
A banjo.
Yeah. from Deering, of course, and that's another thing that you guys might like about the fantasy camp is Deering does a huge display at the fantasy camp. They pick up one whole room and they just fill it with banjos.
Oh, cool.
And so it's just always really cool to see. And of course, all those banjos are for sale. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
And
Speaking
Greg,
of banjos,
hey,
yeah.
I want to give a shout out to our co-host who sadly couldn't
yes.
make it. It is his birthday today.
Happy 21st.
Happy 21st birthday,
Okay.
Mr. Zachary Bunting.
Yeah, so we can totally see why he's not here.
Yeah, don't blame you at all. Get out there and live it, buddy.
And he is our banjo representative of the group.
Yes.
So I thought that plug was fitting.
Exactly.
Anyway, fantasy
Come.
camp.
Yeah.
Come, because Deering is terrific. He just sits there in the afternoon, and I mean, if you've got a banjo, he'll take it apart and put it back together and make it better. Or he'll show you what to do. He'll play it. He'll fix it. Anything.
He did that with my banjo. My banjo's a crappy Hondo 2.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, I bought it at a swap meet for like $40. It's not a good banjo at all. But he literally took it apart and shaved down the sides of the backing and everything. And it's just like, there it is, and it sounds a whole lot better now.
Yep. No, he's our premier banjo maker.
Yeah, and a really nice guy. He and his wife just do amazing work out there.
Exactly. We were all inducted into the American Banjo Hall of Fame together last October.
That is amazing.
How
Yeah.
about that? Oklahoma City, along with Earl Scruggs, posthumously. But it was a good crowd and a good time. It's amazing. American Banjo Museum, which is there,
Really?
is pretty staggering, actually.
Wait, where is this?
This is in Oklahoma City.
I got to go see this.
Yeah.
This is something to do if you're ever stuck. The American Banjo Museum.
I didn't know that existed. That sounds awesome.
Well, I mean, is there any other way to be in Oklahoma City besides stuck?
No. Have a fracking good time there if you really
Exactly.
want.
Hey.
Yeah. And there's even a Kingston Trio exhibit as part of it as well. So that was fun. We see the Deerings here and there.
Yeah, and like I said, the fantasy camp, we're getting to everything, but we just keep coming back to fantasy camp. It's just such a fun experience, and just so many great things that go on at that. One thing that I kind of mentioned earlier, and have you been to Jim Moran's lectures?
Oh, yeah.
I noticed Bob in the background. I haven't noticed you in the background.
Yeah,
no,
I was there this year. Unfortunately, the past couple of years, we've had a little problems with rooms on the first day.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes
I've heard that. But there's this guy, Jim Moran, who comes out and does a lecture on the first day of camp. And Jim Moran is one of the most knowledgeable guys I know of about folk music and really just topics in general. When I used to have him on my folk radio show, The New Hungry Eye, all the time, and I gave him the Professor Irwin Corey reference of being the world's foremost expert.
Yeah.
And just a really knowledgeable guy and one of the best guys on folk music. Plus, he's a heck of a banjo player himself.
You know what? I haven't heard him play.
Really?
I remember that I think about it. Has he been in the jam? No. Maybe he has.
He has, and I remember he was Mikey Burns' third man when he was with Galen a couple years ago.
Okay,
and I could have swore that they played, he played banjo in one or two of the songs.
So. And as I think about it now, I have seen him pick one up.
Yeah. But just so many just talented artists coming out to that thing. It's always just such a wonderful event. Well, we're going to go to the next little break, I think, right?
Yeah, sure.
Let's go to the next little break. I actually do not know what song is queued up for next.
We will be surprised.
Yeah, we'll be.
We'll tell you about it when it's done.
Yeah, we'll
talk about it later.
We'll back talk about those things, and we got some more great stuff. We got more stuff with Bill Zorn coming up next.
Evan, let's do an outro.
Yeah.
All right. Let's or us?
You go.
Okay,
You got
so
it.
let's. So
You got
it's like in tandem? No.
All right, I start with the word and then you got to read.
AM, Blaze Radio, not the Blaze. That's different. We're folking around, and we are here with Bill Zorn. So keep listening. Have a good time with us.
Boom.
Rolling river, tell me, what do you see on your long, long journey from the mountains to the sea? Do you sparkle in the sunshine? Does your rushing traveling hard for such a long time, searching for something to call mine. I can hear your waters flowing, and it's almost like a song. I can listen to your music all night long. Rolling river, tell me, what do you see on your long, long journey from the mountains to the sea? Do you sparkle in the sunshine? Does your rushing water flow? Rolling river, take me with you when you go. If my body's feeling restless at your hurried waters flow, when I'm longing to go somewhere but I've got nowhere to go, pack my dreams up in my guitar case to sing these words I know. Rolling river, take me with you where you go. Rolling river, tell me, what do you see on your long, long journey from the mountains to the sea? Do you sparkle in the sunshine? Does your rushing water flow? Rolling river, take me with you when you go. Rolling river, tell me, what do you see on your long, long journey from the mountains to the sea? Do you sparkle in the sunshine? Does your rushing water flow? Rolling river, take me with you when you go. Rolling river, tell me, what do you see on your long, long journey from the mountains to the sea? Do you sparkle in the sunshine? Does your rushing water flow? Rolling river, take me with you when you go. Rolling river, take me with you when you go. Young men's hopes are dashed to hell. It's hard to earn a dime. They're kicking their heels and revving their wheels, searching for a better time. Me, I'm kicking into my prime, 'cause I was born at the right time. Old men's thoughts are in the past, their future holds no store. Their lives are left in tatters, fighting someone else's war. I wasn't party to that crime, 'cause I was born at the right time. I'm living on the coastline, I got up from the bread line. Now I'm drinking the good wine. I go fishing in the summertime, sleep all day if I have a mind, 'cause I was born at the right time. I want no part of being young, don't want the wisdom of a sage. While there are songs still to be sung, new words to grace the page. A better age I'll never find, 'cause I was born at the right time. Now I'm living on the coastline, I got up from the bread line. Now I'm drinking the good wine. I go fishing in the summertime, sleep all day if I have a mind, 'cause I was born at the right time. And so I'm wishing that we'll all see better days. My secret feeling is I'm happy in my ways, and then her smile comes on me thinking of the past. But I won't sigh for days gone by, now is where I'm at. Now I'm living on the coastline, I got up from the bread line. Now I'm drinking the good wine, I go fishing in the summertime, sleep all day if I have a mind, 'cause I was born at the right time. I was born at the right time, 'cause I was born at the right time. Born at the right time. I was born
And we are back. All right, those last two songs were Rollin' River and Born at the Right Time, the title track off of the Kingston Trio's most recent album.
Thank you, Billy Mitchell.
Yeah.
He was a funny guy, too. A British group called Lindisfarne. If anybody's never heard of them.
Nope.
Well, in that case, we wrote that song.
Yes,
no.
absolutely.
Billy Mitchell. And he was a comedian at about the same time I was a comedian in England.
All right.
We used to do festivals together. But wrote lots of very good songs. Had a good time over there. You know, when I went, I was coming off basically 7 years of being in concert acts, Christie's and the Kingston Trio, and went back to playing in pubs, in little rooms in pubs, little folk clubs all over England. And what a time it was.
Yep.
Sounds
like it.
You know, it was coming down, it was starting over, it was getting out and meeting people. I mean, you get into towns, I mean, there's no hotel. If you play there, you're gonna stay with the people, you know. Mm-hmm. So I got to stay with people all over England and the Shetland Isles and the Scilly Isles and got to know them very well. And it was a great experience. It really was a good one, and got to know a lot of course, great folky people as well. Great folk. You know, it's the best scene musically, because we had a lot of friends that were musicians when we started out, and we compared notes. You know, some of them went into rock bands, and some of them went into lounge bands, and some went into country bands and jazz bands and avant-garde. The folk audiences are the best people that you're going to meet. All over the world, basically. They're people that are interested. They're people you can, have a nice conversation with. They're generally nice people, and the experience has been wonderful. Just meeting the people around the world that you meet through the folk circle. You know, it's a fraternity. It's wonderful.
A brotherhood. On the note of that worldliness, that knowing everyone, we always ask this question, and it specifically seems pertinent for you because you've been everywhere, you've known everyone. You knew the Beatles before the Beatles became successful. You knew a member of the Monkees before the Monkees was even a thing, and it seems like this would be the perfect question for you. And the question is, if you could play any set at any point in history or any point in non-history, so a point from literature, any place to conceive of, with any band, group of people, or singular person you could possibly conceive of, where would it be and who would it be with?
Sky's the limit.
Yeah, anything you think of.
Very, very good. Well, I know a joke about this. You're on tomorrow night.
Hey.
But, somebody asked me this recently. What was the most fun perform? 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 What was the Christies, when you are in a group of 8 or 9 people on stage and everybody is focused on doing that show and everybody is strong musically, there's really nothing. There's nothing that can compete with it. And I had that with my very first group here in Phoenix, the Windjammers. There are some recordings. At the time, we were better than the New Christie Minstrels, and we were playing in pizza parlors in Phoenix, you know what I mean? But when everybody was on and everybody was singing and pulling together, there's really no feeling like that. They say a lot about it that Bob Shane, who has had his heart attack 12 years ago and has basically been on oxygen ever since. 12 years on oxygen doesn't happen very often. And they said it's because he's a singer all of his life that his absorption rate has gotten better. Singing is a very good thing. Singing harmony together with people that you're close with, singing harmony in a family, there really is no better feeling. It's something that just sets your heart on fire. It's a great thing. And I have had that experience with a few different groups throughout my career, and I'd go back and play with them sooner than go on stage with Hendrix or anybody. You know what I mean? I'd just as soon go on with a bunch of people that really like to sing together.
That's amazing.
And go out and just bang, do it. There's nothing like it.
So where would you want that perfect band of yours to be? That's a hard question.
Well, Smoke Revue is pretty good. we still play together, and we have played together for a long time. So there may be yet a few performances that bring together some of what the trio's done and some of what each of us has done otherwise. The PBS special came pretty close, I have to tell you.
Huh.
Because we did a few things where we got Al Jardine on stage singing the Sloop John B with us, and Barry McGuire's there, and the Limelighters are there. You got about 10 people. Everybody's pumping it out, and I'll tell you what, it's going to be pretty good. So there may be a few moments like that left. There's still a few. There's a lot of people I have loved to perform with throughout my life, and will happily go on stage with again. So there may be one or two. Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing. Like how you said it sets your heart on fire.
I'll tell you one other thing we did, and this was on a tour in Spain in 1968. Same time I'm talking about with Franco, and they have a cathedral there that is built inside a mountain. It's the second largest cathedral in the world, next to St. Paul's, and it's a mountain hollowed out and turned into a cathedral. It was built as a memorial to the Spanish Civil War. And we were given a tour of that, and you get in this huge, you're in a giant rock, and you hear the echo going off, and you get up, there's the pulpit there, and there's a little room behind the pulpit, just a little closet, sort of 8 by 10 stone little room. Now, the band that I was singing with, and we were doing USO tours, had an arrangement that we did, 4-part harmony, of, I think it's Psalm 33, "The Lord bless you and keep you." And we used to sing that at the end of the evening for all these soldiers, we get them all laughing and jumping and doing Beatles songs and folk songs, and then we just set down the instruments and a cappella sing this psalm. So here we are in this tiny little room in this giant cathedral, I say, "Oh, come on, guys." And we started singing the psalm, And the room, it's tiny, but it's full. What we didn't realize is, because of the shape of the hall, this tiny room behind the pulpit is like being in the cone of a speaker. So what we are doing is filling the whole cathedral with music.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And we finished. And when one of the monsignors came running around and said, "Where did that come from? Who was doing that?" We said, oh, we were just practicing. "Oh, this is a sacred place. You can't make music here."
Oh, God.
We said, "Oh, we're so sorry." Now we went. But for 2 minutes and 15 seconds, we filled the world with holy music. I'll tell you that.
There you
Made the
go.
holy place even more holy.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It is.
I had a question for you. What is an instrument that you haven't learned to play, but that you'd like to, and why?
Well, that's hard to say. I think my brother, well, I have 3 brothers, but my little brother was in most of the bands with me. And he is a multi-instrumentalist. He started out on the flute, went to the sax, got the bass, plays guitar, does vocals, does percussion, does, all this. He can go out and do a whole woodwind section, everything from a baritone sax to a soprano and things like that. So I wouldn't let him touch the banjo. That was mine. You know what I mean? So I had to fight to keep him off of that. And that was hard enough. So between the guitars and the banjos, I don't feel a calling. I don't feel I've missed out on anything musically. Once you start playing the banjo, you realize this is going to take a long time.
Yeah, I heard it's very difficult to learn.
Yeah, and the only other one, the steel guitar, people say that, if you're going to do that, you're going to do nothing else. So, I've always, been the singer and performer, and I don't sell myself as an instrumentalist, though I get by on the banjo, you know. It's a bit like that. And that'll keep me busy. I'll stick with my banjo.
Stick with my banjo.
Yep.
Title your next song then.
I was wondering, and I think I've asked you this before, song Real Old Style, what is the instrument you're playing on there? Isn't it a slack key guitar? Or
No, it's a banjo. It's a banjo.
Okay.
But what I play is a dobro banjo.
Okay.
It's called the dojo.
Okay, yeah.
For you Japanese people. And it's a national, it's a very soft thing. Actually, the Dobrovsky brothers, when they started, one of them was a banjo freak in the 1920s. They made the first nationals as banjos. And the idea to amplify it didn't work. It made the banjo actually softer, you know. So I said, no, this is not working. What do we do? Well, let's try it on guitar. And they made guitars. So they tried that first. But for a ballad like Real Old Style, it's just perfect.
Absolutely.
It sounds like muted banjo, which is what I play on the first half of The Dutchman. Oops. But that is the right thing. And again, first time I went to Hawaii with the Christies and started playing with some of the guys, you know, the ukuleles come out, and I got out my banjo, and they go, hey, what are you going to do with that? And they started playing their slack key guitar.
Right.
Well, slack key guitar is G tuning guitar. They tune it like a banjo, basically. So they started playing their slack key stuff on the guitar. I picked up my banjo, and I just started right in and followed them. He'd go, how'd you do that? What'd you do that, Howley? How'd you do that? So it was a natural, and when I learned that Real Old Style, Keola Beamer's song, I said, I'm going to do this on the banjo then. I'm not going to play slack key.
Yeah. We'll definitely play that song before the show is out. But yeah, we've got some other stuff.
Well, you going to do the Roseville Fair?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you this.
We got Roseville Fair and Sloop John A. back to back, and I believe they're both by the same guy.
They are. This is Les Barker's Moment. Les Barker is a very funny British parody songwriter, and he's taken the mick out of many, many different songs. One was, of course, the Sloop John B., which he did for us, and the group recorded for him. And he also did Quasi Be Good to the tune of Johnny Be Good, about the first French heavy metal musician of note. And then he did one for Bill Staines. Now, Bill Staines wrote The River, which is on the new album. He wrote Darcy Farrow and a number of gentle, lovely little songs, including one called The Roseville Fair, which talks about a fair in Roseville, California, near him. And it talks about a young couple who go to the Roseville Fair, and they meet, and they fall in love, and they dance all night to the fiddle and the banjo. Now, that's how the song starts. Then Les Barker takes over. Now, the normal song would be, every year they go back to the Roseville Fair, and they dance again all night to the fiddle and the banjo. And the music fills the air, and their love fills the air. Now, Les Barker said, okay, we'll start out with that. So the first verse is the same, and then with permission from Bill Staines, the story takes a different course.
Uh-oh. All right, so we are going to go to those two songs, Sloop John A. by the Kingston Trio, and Roseville Fair was recorded by which of your groups?
It's actually recorded by me.
By you on your own, all right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to those two songs.
You are listening to Folkin' Around on Blaze Radio, KASC 1330 AM. Please stay tuned, guys.
Hey, we look for the Sloop John A. We looked for it all day. Around Nassau town we did roam. A man on the pier said it wasn't here. We couldn't find it, and then we went home. So where can the John A be? Maybe the A's at we had to go home. We couldn't find it, and then we went home. Well, the first mate was not there. Maybe he was elsewhere. Maybe he was on board the sloop John Hay. Wherever he was, we didn't find him because we couldn't find it, and then we went home. So where can the John A be? Maybe the A's at sea. We had a good look round and we went home. But then we went home. We had to go home. Well, we couldn't find it, and then we went home. Well, the day was a non-event. It seems that the A had went. But then someone told us there's another called B. Well, B was okay. Well, B was okay. But I had my heart set on A. He had his heart set on A. But he couldn't find it, and then we went home. Everybody, where can the John A be? Maybe the A's at sea. We had a good look round and we went home. And then we went home. We had to go home. Well, we couldn't find it, and then we went home. And then we went home. And then we went home.
I know it seems hard to imagine, but until about oh, the night was clear, and the stars were shining, and the moon came out, quiet in the sky, and the people gathered round, and the band was tuning. I can hear him now, coming through the ride. She was dressed in blue, and she looked so lovely, just a gentle flower of a small town girl. Then he took her by the hand, and they danced to the music with a single smile. She became his girl, and they danced all night to the fiddle and the banjo. Drifting tunes filled the air. So long ago now, but I can still remember when they fell in love at the Roseville Fair. They courted well, and they courted dearly, till the following year, at the self-same fair, she caught him holding hands with some floozy. She cracked his skull with a rosewood chair, and his head went right through the middle of the banjo. She left them both well beyond repair, and the old folks said that's the way to treat a banjo. She cracked his skull with a rosewood chair, and we couldn't believe the improvement in the music. Drifting tunes filled the air, with his head still stuck through the middle of the banjo. We danced all night, at the Roseville Fair. And his head went right through the middle of the banjo. She left them both well beyond repair. And the old folks said, that's the way to treat a banjo. She cracked his skull with a rosewood chair.
That was amazing.
And the music was much improved. Yes! I have to say, I died.
Yeah, that was a good line. That was a great line.
Yeah, he's a wonderful guy. We think he will one day be poet laureate of England.
Really?
I do think so. He is that well respected, and that many people laugh at him.
One would only hope. An English group that I'd recently listened to, a Show of Hands. Are you familiar with them?
Do you know that the fiddle player that you just listened to is Show of Hands fiddle player?
I did not know that.
That is also from the Arizona Smoke Revue.
All right.
The Show of Hands are two of the Smoke Revue, basically.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm only familiar with really one Show of Hands song. What's the mining song? Why can't I think of the name of it off the top of my head? I'm blanking on it, but it's a really cool song, and
right.
I got to listen to more Show of Hands.
Oh yeah, no, tons of stuff. Yeah. No, they came right out of the Smoke Revue, and Phil still plays with us.
Nice.
Steve is around. Hey, you should hear the Smoke Revue Spring Hill mining disaster. Actually, that's I think it's the best recording of that song.
Okay.
You should put that on sometime. That's got both of them in it.
Okay. Well, if we can get that going before the end of the show, we'll definitely get it going.
Yeah. And
I should have that.
We do a couple of nightly songs on the Smoke Revue album as well.
Okay.
He's part of that. So there, they've become very, very much.
Yeah. Cousin Jack, that was the name of the one I was thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah.
That came later. I don't know that as well.
Yeah. Tom O'Donnell was singing that at camp this last year, and of course, he's living back there in the UK.
Yeah,
sure. And so he just brought back a handful of really cool songs.
Of course, he sees Billy Mitchell. I understand all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom O'Donnell's, of course, one of the other campers who has been coming, for like 12 years, 13 years, more than that, something like that. Yeah.
That's what gets me. Is the number of people that just come every year. They must be getting something out of it. You know what I mean?
I mean, look at Tony Lay has been there for 15 of the 16 years.
Pretty much so.
Yeah, I mean, just to think, that you have those people coming back, the talent you have coming back, and the passion you have coming back. And then the amount of money these people must be spending to come back every year. It's literally a small fortune to be coming back every year. But
we travel all the time, and we take cruises and stay in luxury hotels and go around. And you don't realize what it actually costs. So you look at some of these brochures.
Oh, no, absolutely.
People spend a hell of a lot of money to have a holiday, and this isn't that much.
Considering what you're getting, it's not. It's really not a lot. It's a fantastic deal to be able to sing with, again, this Grammy Hall of Fame winning group, and but again, just to think that you have X amount of dollars this times 13, 14 years.
Oh yeah. That adds up to something.
Exactly.
More than just a striped shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but again, it would be something that would absolutely be worth it.
Yeah, nobody's forcing them either. It's not like you better be here next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I please come again?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right.
Of course.
Maybe hit with a rosewood chair. That'd be quite a
Exactly. Yeah.
You're right. Beyond compare. We did. I think we had the best banjo workshop ever too. Once about 3 years ago, and all the guys said they don't want workshops anymore. They learned everything they want to learn now. They just want to concentrate on their performance.
Right.
So we work with them during the day, and get them to get out there and do their thing. And by gum, they get better. You know, and you see them, they come back and after 4 years, God, they're getting their own gigs. You know, I got to get back by Tuesday because we got a show, you know, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, we were just talking about Tom O'Donnell. He puts out like a new album every single year.
Sure.
Yeah, which, by the way, at folksinger.info, you can download all those albums for free.
How about
Hey,
that?
there you go.
Indeed, and he's pretty good on his own right. But yeah, just to think about the passion, and I think Nick Reynolds had said it best, and that's what's in the book. It's all about the music, and the Kingston Trio. It was, to me, music that not only was good stylistically, but was the type of music that you could just sit around with your buddies, hammer out a couple songs, and you could just have fun with. And I think that's the enjoyment of the Kingston Trio, is it's just very fun.
There you go. It was always meant to be, and it should be. You know, it should be. You should be able to enjoy it, and that is what it's about. You know, I've heard every one of the, if you will, the other three originals, and you know, including Gard, Nick, and John Stewart. At one point or another, say, Bob Shane really is the Kingston Trio.
Absolutely.
You know? And he was. He defined it. He made it swing. He made it fun. He made it groovy music. They crystallized what was the American folk repertoire, if you will, you know, in that few years in the 50s. And it's all in one place. And it's all over the world, you know.
Well, I mean, with Bob, it was the passion and it was the voice. I mean, you know, you listen to his voice. One of the strongest, you know, baritones in music, really.
Oh, yeah.
And whiskey baritone, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, well, of course, and an absolutely natural. You know, absolutely natural. I mean, they went to vocal coaches when they were working as a group, which is a good thing to do. But you know, it was never trained. You know, he's not a trained singer. It's all natural.
That's cool. I think that's where a lot of that passion comes from, like you're talking about, like not being a trained singer, just having that raw talent and that raw sound. I think is really what's cool.
Immediately imagined him bursting out of the womb with like a sultry baritone voice, and I was like,
"Hello, world."
Give that boy a banjo.
He was born with a banjo.
I mean, I think Bob Shane's first words were Scotch and soda, if I'm not mistaken. And I could be wrong, but
pretty much so. I think the bottle.
Yeah, exactly. We should mention the story of Scotch and soda. It came from the Seaver family, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, it's another story that comes from Phoenix. It's true, and I keep thinking that someday, you know, you're gonna come across it. That one of those yard sales over by Central and Camelback, some place that's been there for years, and they had a table full of sheet music going back to the 20s and the 30s, and some of it was handwritten, and some of it was, I mean, just piles of it. I'm thinking, could be in there somewhere. But that song was actually found here in Phoenix in the 1930s by the Seaver family. Had just gotten married, the guy and his wife, and they came to Phoenix for their honeymoon, and they were at a club which was reputed to be on East Camelback somewhere, and listening to a lounge singer. And the guy did this Scotch and soda, you know, and they said, "Wow, that's a great song." And they went in there a couple nights and requested it, and it was getting to the end. They said, "You know, we'd really like to. Is there any way you have a copy of it or anything?" He said, did you write? Yeah, I wrote it. Well, here, hold on. Are you coming back tomorrow? And he wrote it out for him on a little manuscript. Here it is. And they took it home, and that was going to be their song. Forward in time, 23 years, say, and it's the mid-1950s, and Dave Gard is dating the daughter of this family. And Dave and Bob stopped by to see her one time, and they said, "You know, we got this song. It was always our favorite. It was our honeymoon song. You know, maybe you guys would like it." And they took out this piece of paper, and they said, "Well, maybe we can do something with it." And that was Scotch and Soda.
Aww.
And when they recorded it, because the guy wrote it out and didn't put his name on the paper, they said, Dave Gard said, "Well, I'll just put my name on it, and when the guy comes, we'll just give him all the money, you know?" And the guy never came. Who knows?
You got to think he must have passed away at some point in between those
This
two
is
times.
the 1930s. He might have gone to the war. Anything could have happened. Probably is dead by now.
Wow.
And nobody knows. And still to this day, nobody knows.
Well, I was at Fiddler's Dream a while back, and I had been talking, Kingston Trio and Scotch and Soda and everything, and I had mentioned that, and some old timer said he had actually heard Scotch and Soda in the Valley before the Kingston Trio ever recorded. I'm like, do you remember the name of the guy? No, I don't remember that. It was just really grumpy and everything because I think he didn't appreciate that I did the Tiptoe Through the Tulips, but I did the what's his name, the Tiptoe Through the Tulips. What was the guy's name? Okay, all right. So
We'll come back to that one.
Yeah, this guy had done this really cheesy version of Tiptoe Through the Tulips, and so I had done my impression of that, and this guy didn't take too kindly to it, and so he refused kind of to talk to me for the rest of the night, and I'm just like, but you just mentioned it. No, just because he liked the beauty of Tiptoe Through the Tulips. It was a beautiful song. I was like, no, it was.
You know that
the guy with the ukulele.
Still can't remember, but we will. Dolan Ellis did it first.
Did he?
Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
Now, see, I would listen to his version of that.
That was his bit. Yeah, that was his bit, and it was a little bit different. But yeah, he did a version of that, and there was also a guy in the Valley, Henry Thome, I believe. Are you out there, Henry? Who also used to do the song, and it claims that his solo version of Scotch and Soda was the first released solo version. He recorded it shortly after the trio did. The trio, it was an album track. It was never a solo. It wasn't a solo release.
Right.
So he claims he had the first solo version of it. And, of course, Travis Edmondson used to do it quite a lot, and people did believe that he had written it, and he did let them believe that for a while, too.
I'm not surprised with Travis. But nobody could do it quite like Bob Shane. No, absolutely.
And in fact, Dave wanted to sing it. I don't know if you know.
Oh, he did on Up and In, right, on his solo album.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, Up and In is a solid album, but his version of Scotch and Soda doesn't even come anywhere close to Shane's version.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, like I said, there are a couple really nice songs on that album. They Love the Night is a really nice song of his, but unfortunately, his version of Scotch and Soda just didn't hold up.
Yeah. Well, Nick said it was he that told Gilmore to let Bob try it.
Well, wasn't it just Bob on the guitar and Buckwheat playing?
Pretty much so. Yeah.
We just got messaged a fun fact, which is apparently that "Tiptoe Through the Tulips" was the name of the first episode of SpongeBob.
Was it?
No, it was featured in the first episode.
Oh, it was
okay. Yeah.
I just read that.
Yes.
No, it's okay.
So it was featured in that episode, which is
that's pretty cool.
See?
I actually remember that episode.
Yeah, so do I. I come to think about it.
I remember seeing that when it debuted in 1999 or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Man, is it still on the air? By the way,
SpongeBob?
I don't know.
Yeah, SpongeBob is still on the air.
Oh, jeez.
So.
There was the new SpongeBob movie, so yeah.
It's running into Simpsons and South Park.
Nothing compares to the 40. How many years old is the Simpsons at this point? It's terrifying.
Isn't their last season coming up pretty soon?
No.
Everyone always says it's the last season.
It
never ends.
Okay.
No, it's not at all. It's the same thing with South
crazy.
Park. Although South Park, I think, has maintained its quality over the years, and we're getting off onto a tangent. We shouldn't be talking about Simpsons and South Park. We should be talking about music. But
It was Tiny Tim that got it.
Tiny Tim, thank you.
That's what did it.
Tiny Tim.
I knew it was in there somewhere.
Oh,
there we
got
go.
married on the Tonight Show. Yeah. But that guy was just a weird looking dude, was he not?
Well, that's okay.
Yeah, no. I mean, he made a success.
Yeah.
Then again, we're in radio, and what do they say about people in radio?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, just looking at all of us. I mean,
come on.
Yeah.
Oh,
all right. So, I think we're going to go with the next song here, and we have just enough time to go to that and maybe come back for one quick wrap up. But we're going to go to one more song here really quick. Real Old Style we got all queued up. We're going to go to that, come back here for one quick wrap up, and then we will be out. All right. So
fantastic.
Here is Real Old Style by the Kingston Trio.
Keep listening to Folkin' Around. We got a little bit more coming up for you guys. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned.
Cool.
My grandfather, he's a kindly man. He lives on homestead land. And sometimes he'll sing the songs he wrote when he was still a young man. And he sings in a real old style. And he plays in the real old style. My aunties, they all love to dance, and their families love to sing. I sing with them when I get a chance, and they're filled with love for everything, and they dance in the real old style. And they sing in the real old style. But these folks, they are young no more, and soon they'll pass away. I will always think of them and the songs they used to play, and they played in the real old style, and they danced in the real old style, and they sang in the real old style.
And we're back. All right, there we go.
There we go.
All right. That was Real Old Style off of Born at the Right Time with, of course, Mr. Bill Zorn singing lead on that. In fact, yeah, singing all of it. One last thing I wanted to bring up is I had noticed, and somebody brought this up to me at the last fantasy camp, that classic Kingston Trio songs tended to be each person singing their own verse and everybody singing we didn't really have that on the most recent album. We had everybody singing lead on it and then going back to singing harmony on the choruses. So on the next Kingston Trio album, are we going to go back and have a couple of those where everybody takes a verse? I would hope.
We'll have to keep you wondering about that one.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. I would love to see something like that. We have reached the end of our show. We do have a couple of little songs left to play at the end, but I will mention that the Kingston Trio Fantasy Camp number 17 will be August 9th through the 13th. We're going to see Mr. Bill Zorn alongside Bob Shane, Rick Doherty, and George Grover, the Kingston Trio, with some phenomenal people from all over the world, and me.
Yeah.
And what we got coming up on the tour?
Yeah, and the Kingston Trio is hitting the road with their next show on the 20th in Arroyo Grande, California. And they're hitting all across the U.S., like California, Texas, and hitting Arizona in February, again on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
So you should head on down to Tucson on Valentine's Day at the Fox Theater. And then on the 20th of the same month in Yuma, Arizona.
Okay.
At the West Wind RV Resorts. Ooh.
Nice.
Hitting Florida, North Carolina, all sorts of places. Closing their tour in mid-July, which then leads into Fantasy Camp.
Absolutely.
In August. So it's
Scottsdale
just Kingston Trio all year
very,
round.
very busy.
Scottsdale Plaza Resort in Bend and Scottsdale Road. Just make sure you show up for that because it's going to be amazing as always. Without any further ado, Bill, thank you so much for stopping by. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me. As I say, I started out in this town and I started out in front of microphones and things, and it's great to share a little bit of it now at the other end of my journey.
All right.
Glad to have you.
Well, we're very glad to have you.
We're going to close with two last little songs now, one of which is your version of Dueling Banjos. And to hear this guy play banjo, again, it's just really amazing. And then we're going to close out with his version of The White Snows of Winter, which was on the first Kingston Trio holiday album last month of the year, and I believe Bob Shane is credited with writing that.
Yes, he has.
Yes,
right. Yeah.
And of course, Bill does a very admirable job on that song, as you will hear. So thanks so much for listening. I've been Britt Ruard.
Maeve.
And Evan Targioni, I guess.
Okay.
And thanks for coming, Bill. We had such a good time.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me. I've just enjoyed it so much.
I'm glad to hear it.
And thanks for listening, guys. You were listening to Folkin' Around. Tune in next Friday for more Folkin' Around. Enjoy your night.
Same time.